Okay, it is 1:30. I will call our meeting to order here. We'll go through introductions. All five commissioners are present. We'll start with you, Randy.
Randy Morrow, Morrow.
You, Dan.
Dan Kirk, boardroom. Jacob King, Morrow.
Troy Griggs, Chamber of State and Station. Ivan Hendricks, Port Morrow. Lisa Milster, Port Morrow. Eric Moore, Port Morrow.
Zoom.
Hey. John Doherty.
John Doherty, City of Hebner.
Aaron. Can you hear me, Aaron?
Aaron Palmquist, City of Oregon.
Thank you. Marcine.
Marcine Brigham, Port Morrow Warehousing.
Kelly.
Kelly Morgan, Lamb Weston.
Isabel.
Isabel Gonzalez, Oregon Hay Products.
Kirby.
Yep, Kirby Garrett, CFM Advocates.
Claire.
Claire McLeod Ruiz, I'm here on my own behalf.
Brandon.
Brandon Hammond, City of Boardman.
And Ryan.
Brian Gleason, CFM Advocates.
And that is it.
Okay. And we're gonna check on the public comment sheet.
There's none.
Nobody here to do that. Okay.
That was easy.
Okay. Next is, we are gonna open our budget hearing. And later on down, we'll have a spot for comments on that. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. We have last month's meeting on there.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Fred.
Move to approve consent agenda as presented. I will second.
Okay. Rick has moved and John seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Next is legislative updates. Kirby, you're up there. You ready to go?
I am ready. Yes. Can you all hear me okay? I just want to make sure. I've been having some mic issues here. Can you hear me?
That sounds pretty good.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Well, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you all. So quick, obviously lots going on back in DC. Try to keep things concise. First, just a quick reconciliation bill update. So I mentioned this on my last call, but this is the main focus on Capitol Hill. And since the meeting last month, the House passed this massive reconciliation bill, which they, as you've probably heard, they've dubbed it the One Big Beautiful Bill, or Triple B, BBB, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's aimed at securing the majority of President Trump's domestic policy priorities in one foul swoop. So they were able to pass the bill out of the House. Just a few highlights of what's in this bill. $2.3 trillion is the budgetary impact, as estimated by the Congressional Budget Office. Huge chunk of that is an extension of the tax provisions from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in the first Trump administration. So it's extending tax breaks for individuals and businesses. And then there's also some new tax provisions like eliminating taxes on tips, things that the president promised on the campaign trail. There's also $363 billion in new mandatory funding. Much of that is for defense and immigration enforcement, border security. And then to help offset that, this is where things get particularly kind of controversial. The bill would make modifications to the SNAP program, require states to put forward a larger share. It would overhaul the Medicaid program in several ways to eliminate expenditures there. And so, of course, getting this bill out of the House was not without drama. The last stop before it got to the House floor was a 12-hour committee hearing in the House Rules Committee that they started. They started the hearing at 1 a.m. And then later that night, the entire House floor worked the graveyard shift to consider this thing through the middle of the night. There's even one member that fell asleep and missed the vote. But despite that, they approved the bill 215 to 214 with just 2 Republicans voting against it. So couldn't have a closer margin there. The bill now goes to the Senate where they're considering things, despite pleas from House Speaker Mike Johnson for them to not really alter the bill too much and not undermine that delicate balance to placate the different factions within his own caucus. The Senate has said, despite that they're basically going to overhaul a lot of the bill, at least probably a fourth to a third of it, which basically ensures that this is all going to drag out further into the summer. That is going to be an issue, possibly because we are careening toward our debt limit, which we're going to hit at some point this summer. And Republicans are counting on using this reconciliation bill to raise the debt limit. Right now, they have increase of $4 trillion in the reconciliation bill. So basically, that puts a clock on getting this bill done, and that clock is starting to tick louder and louder every day. So expect more drama there. I'm sure there will be some before they wrap this thing up. Reconciliation, basically, it's taking up most of the bandwidth on Capitol Hill. But despite that, they are moving forward with the appropriations process. I mentioned this on the last call as well. But we're seeing some movement. And these are appropriations basically is the annual spending bills, right? That they use to keep the government's lights on. And these are also the bills that we each year try to secure funding from to support projects at the port and throughout the community. So depending on the project that we put forward, there's different subcommittee deadlines, and we're kind of in the middle of that right now. So senators are putting forward those requests to the committees, which have to be made public. So we know for sure that Senator Merkley and Wyden have put forward our request for funding for the City of Boardman interchange project that we worked with them on for exit 165, basically to put a roundabout there for access to the port. So that is great to see. And then we should know for sure on our other projects, whether those have been put forward to the committee. We should know in the next couple weeks. And then from there, the really big hurdle is to get into the markups that each of the subcommittees will put forward. And hopefully we'll see those draft bills at some point next month in July before they leave town for the August recess. Obviously, this is a super competitive process. We don't expect to get each and every one of the projects we put forward. 1 or 2 would be a home run. But we're definitely optimistic. So more to come on that in the months ahead. But I'll go ahead and stop there. I've been going already for a while. There's just a lot going on back here. So happy as always to take questions, but really appreciate the opportunity to provide an update.
Questions for Kurt? Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, Kirby.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, Ryan, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. Thanks, everyone. Apologies, I cannot be on camera today. I am sitting outside. Lots happening in the Capitol. And unfortunately, I picked a spot where there's some lawn tools going on. It's either that or the jackhammer with the construction in the Capitol. But moving on to my update, tension is definitely building in the Capitol. It is palpable. We have 18 days left before the constitutional sine die, and there is still lots left to do if the Democrats want to accomplish their goals that they set out for the beginning of session. I'm going to start with some of the fun news. We do have a new legislative member, Dr. Sue Ricky Smith. She is replacing now Senator Courtney Leon Mislin, who moved to the Senate after replacing Aaron Woods, who passed earlier on in the legislative session. Transportation, we finally have a bill for the transportation package. This is the year to do it. The legislature passes a transportation package typically every 10 years. They failed to do so in 2015 and came back and passed a package in 2017. So this year they are attempting that package, House Bill 2025. We were originally promised a package that bill in April. And every week since then, we said, okay, wait, just next week. Well, that week was finally here. We got the language on Monday morning, and it was passed out of the Transportation Reinvestment Committee on a party line vote. Some of the notable details in that package include a 15-cent gas tax that is phased in over a couple of years, 26 10 cents and then 28.5 cents. There is a road user charge, RUC, for EVs and plug-in hybrids. Vehicle transfer fee. So there's already a fee for purchasing new vehicles. This is a new new fee for used vehicles over $10,000. This is a hard to implement. So the fact that they are attempting this is really interesting, and many folks are going to be watching this really closely. And then across the package, there is a strong commitment to those anchor projects that they funded in 2017, which include Rose Quarter, Abernathy Bridge, and I-205. We haven't seen any revenue projection for this package with all the different funding components, but Democrats did let it slip in the meeting that it is about $1 billion a year, which of course Republicans capitalized on immediately and turned it into some campaign talking points. And a political action committee was formed. So they're probably, if this bill does get passed, going to attempt some groups will attempt to put it on the ballot. So that's transportation agency budget. So as I talked about at the last meeting, we are very behind with the revenue forecast coming in way under what we are expecting, about 750 million total funds. So that's general fund and lottery funds. They had to basically rewrite everything. They had to start from scratch with putting together those agency budgets. So now we're really seeing the legislative fiscal office and all those subcommittees rushed through to get those agency budgets done. And we're hearing that the subcommittees will close up next week. And so they'll push out all those agency budgets to the respective floors, and then they'll cross back over to the second chamber. Some big news this week. I've talked about Senate Bill 916 before. That is unemployment insurance for striking workers. It passed the Senate on a party line vote with 2 Democrats opposing the bill. And then it came over to the House. The House amended the bill and then passed it out with 33 aye votes. Of course, when the House amends a bill, that means the Senate needs to concur. They did not concur. They voted that down. They had those 2 Democrats that voted no originally, and then 2 more Democrats joined them. And so what happens is that bill will move to conference committee. They're attempting to align it a little bit more with the Washington program, lowering the cap, which was originally 26 months in the amended bill, down to 12 months cap. Moving on to some of the port priorities that we've been watching and engaging in pretty closely is Senate Bill 1154. That is a bill that we've been neutral on, but really involved in. It's the governor's yellow light, red light groundwater protection bill. It's fixing the concern area designation to be more useful with more agency tools and local involvement. And it's also expanding the management area designation to have more agency tools as well. And also it automatically moves the current BOMAs into the newly named groundwater quality management areas, including keeping the lead agency, which for us is the Lower Umatilla Basin, is DEQ. So throughout this process, our comments have really been focused on agency permitting and water rights transfers. And again, on this bill, the port has been neutral. Moving on to Senate Bill 1153. This is a bill where we have been opposed. This is, there have been multiple water right transfer bills this session, but this has the governor's bill where all the attention has been focused on. Senate Bill 1153 with the -10 amendment would add new public interest in environmental review as well as tribal consultation. We are not opposed to the tribal consultation piece. It is some of the other components of the bill that make it hard to implement. This bill does include a municipal exemption to the public interest in environmental review. We are still subject to the tribal consultation requirements, but the report remains opposed due to the significant impact the bill will have on the region. The bill has passed Ways and Means with a minority report attached to it. So that means if the fiscal comes off of it, there's still a minority report on the bill. The last bill that we're watching really closely is actually up now. I'm waiting for a text to see what happens. House Bill 2725. We are supportive with the -2 amendment. Just a reminder, that's the Port Strategic Investment Program bill that was put forward by the city of Hillsborough. And the -2 amendment would make it so all ports would stay in the SIP program east of Bonneville Dam. And then just really quickly on capital construction funding, we have been pushing forward a request with Morrow County to connect West Glen to the city of Boardman public drinking water system. That is something that we will not see a decision on until the end of session, but we've been having really positive conversations with key decision makers about this project and how important it is to connect these households to that public drinking water system. And we're really hopeful that legislators will put this in the Christmas tree or end of session funding bill when we near the end. So session is constitutionally obligated to end on June 29th, but a reminder, their only mandate is to pass a balanced budget. Happy to take any questions.
Boy, that was a lot.
We're
There's a
nearing the
lot.
end. There is a lot, but we're nearing the end.
Ryan, we're still at $2.8 million.
Yes, unless unless the number has changed, we are still at 2.8.
Okay. Okay, that's the last I've heard.
That's the West Glen project. Thank you.
Okay,
I
and
don't have a question for Brianna, but I have a question for the board or for Lisa. How is it that Brianna basically gets marching orders? Because Joe, you always say that like last night, you said that the port was neutral. I don't know that the board had any input on that neutral position. So I guess I'm asking what, when she's goes out and does her talking points and we don't have any input in it. And then to say that it's a port, neutral decision, or we're supporting it or not supporting it, how does that work? I mean, why don't we have an input on that?
I guess in the past, we've always, Ryan and I talk about that issue. And we look at the pros and cons of the bill to determine where we think that we should land, and she makes some of those judgments on a weekly basis based on the changes that are happening within each of those bills and how they would affect us. So I guess if you want to formally do that as a board, you certainly have the ability to do that.
Lisa, if I could add to that too, I think in places where we're neutral, we do, we just provide feedback on how specific language in a bill would affect the port. And so that's just how we provide feedback to, legislators working on bills or other advocates working on bills, and it's just how it affects us is typically what we do.
And the 2725-2 amendment is the compromise bill that keeps the Port of Morrow and Port of Umatilla, well, everyone east of the west side of the Bonneville Dam or something like that, keeps us all in the SIP agreements. And that's a compromise that accommodates the city of Hillsborough.
I guess as far as legislative agenda, if there's ones that we, would have an outward facing presence or appearance to people, to our public, maybe we should discuss it sometime in the future. So just if there's something that's contentious or something that we would have a say in that might affect others to the report, and you already do bring them to us, those ones, just stances that our public elected or our voters and things we care about.
Well, we've pretty much been focused on these three bills the entire session.
Which Ryan does, just to add, she does talk with our consultants, Joe, Bruce. I mean, it's not just her, yes, it's not just her making a decision,
Yeah.
It's a big, and I don't want to step in there, but it is a huge, and usually fast moving, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they usually are.
And Michael Campbell, and I mean, she's got everybody on how it affects the board, and I was just thinking, 1154, there were some really good things in there for the consortium, that I thought, would be helpful. That we, maybe we should have put more things in there that would have been helpful to that, and pushed for those, and maybe there's things in there that we didn't like, but to discuss those items, because there was some really good, giving us the opportunity to drill wells without maybe having to go through all the red tape was something that I thought was quite important. And for us to sit neutral on it, it just, and maybe there was things in there that were, not good or not bad, but I think those things need to be discussed. And maybe pushed, maybe it's, if we start pushing for, for some of those things as the consortium goes forward. I mean, they tried, and obviously there was something put forward, and I was glad to see that. It just got so washed down that it's just now a process bill, and I know the community, our community group, is no longer supporting it.
With that.
The Oregon Rural Action that we all need as a community, mostly Westland people and some outliers from here again. That community group that meets every month. We pulled our support, but something to discuss about.
Yeah. Bring it to the forefront and next. Maybe I'll have it through.
Yeah, the next section too, we should have an agenda.
Okay.
Or it's kind of turning out to be a leader in trying to deal with the water issue. Whether it's through the consortium or our own efforts and spending money to treat our water, so our opinion might carry some weight on issues particularly. There, especially for successful moving forward, which I wholeheartedly suspect it will be, so. Get a chance to speak up, and if we need to get in the weeds, we can.
Right, we could certainly reach out, on those issues that are close to being a neutral or a positive or an opposition, but we meet pretty frequently with Ryan, and she'll call me or text me at all hours of the day.
When 3,000 bills come before the legislative session, it's a challenge. So, I mean, I was just involved with one, my profession, that was exhausting, actually. To actually work through it was exhausting. So I can understand the sheer quantity and the amount of effort or attention it takes.
And
Go ahead, Ryan.
thank you, commissioners. This is really helpful. And going through this process now with you all, I'm hoping to have a better process to set up a legislative agenda where there's more clear direction on the things that we're advocating for and buckets, and how we're looking for categories of things and bringing that to you a little bit earlier. So I'm hoping to maybe come before you sooner and bring bills in buckets, if you will, and setting up a little bit better of a process with you all as a public entity, and hoping to do that sooner in the legislative process.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
thank you. Okay. Moving on to old business, first up is CDA update.
CDM date's not going to be until 2:00 on Greg.
Yeah, Greg was gonna call in and give an update, he can't call until about 2.
Okay.
We're all right to move that down.
Absolutely.
Fourth, okay. So we will move on to the wiki update.
Which we don't have a wiki update, we are just keeping it on the agenda, as a placeholder for when we do, but nothing new since the last meeting,
Changes.
no changes.
Okay. The CWSFRF update,
So Jacob,
water.
strategic reserve.
Update on secondary treatment, right?
Mhm.
So we kicked things off with Aqua. We executed a change order agreement with them to provide engineering services for scope of work document that we reviewed last month. About a $2 million bill for engineering services.
This is with the new company that did the presentation.
That's
Today's
right.
presentation.
That's right. Aqua Engineering at Utah. That's correct. So far, we've been going through and reviewing the preliminary data that they went through, making modifications. We should have a preliminary operating cost any day now. They've been taking our costs in the region and implementing those into that plan. So I should have that to distribute hopefully by next month. Next week, we're kicking off geotechnical investigations. So we'll have a geotechnical firm out doing test pits and bores next week. We've got an official base design kickoff meeting on the 26th of June. was a consultant and a geotechnical engineer. And, Hawk was also engaged with DEQ on, checking the box on the value engineering approach. So to qualify for funding with DEQ, we have to go through a value engineer. But value engineering process is pretty specific, developed in the eighties by the EPA. And so we're going through and trying to get key team members put into place, and maybe that might be another third-party engineer to value engineering option. We're assuming this approach is our value engineering option from the oxidation ditch approach. But they want an additional review of the new design. So we're trying to figure out what is acceptable to them with a consultant perspective on reviewing all of their new design.
An value engineering option just means that we're looking for options that cost less, but are still acceptable. I guess I don't.
All of the above, so you've got to get an in-depth analysis on every aspect of every technology, every structure, every design decision. A third-party specialist of that technical background will review and say, oh, maybe there's a better way to do this, or maybe there's not. So it leads into alternative analysis of very specific technology that's implemented for each aspect of the project. So it's very in-depth review. And then our first deliverable from Aqua is the 30% design and basic design by September 1st. Full completion of 100% design will be done by end of May 2026.
And we're still on schedule.
Yes, so September 1st is our date that we have to meet for DEQ requirements. Okay. For the base design, preliminary design submission.
Yeah, cool.
Jacob, I'm sorry, did you talk about the cost for the engineering?
Yeah, it's right at $2 million.
Okay, I'm texting with Ryan. Thank you. She said, well, Ryan, you want to talk about 27, 25 again?
Apologies, happy to. 27, 25, House Bill 27, 25 just passed out of the House Revenue Committee with the -2 amendment, which is what we are supportive of. Representative Levy voted no, and Representative Smith was absent for the vote, but it will pass out and it will go to the House floor.
Sorry about that. Any more questions on the state funding on the re-engineering?
No, I have a question actually, but since we're talking about 27, 25 and if it passes, then we'll need an IGA with the county, correct?
We're working on it. I met with Dave Sykes and Mike Gorman last Friday for a couple hours in the afternoon.
Okay.
And with all the questions that they had, we were talking about who was going to draft it, and I just said, what county, why don't you draft it? You get in there what you want, and then we'll look at it and see if it works.
Yeah, because we'll bring it back for discussion and counter back. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Jacob or Lisa on that?
No, I'll be anxious to see the operational cost estimates.
Okay, next is Morrow County Water Consortium update.
Kelly?
Well, had a meeting, last night. We're still working on process, basically. We did pass a budget, item that we can now, have a budget. And we are going to be working, on an RFP process, also to put in our agreement. Because the state limit says to 25,000, if we don't have that in an IGA that are in our bylaws. So we are decided to wait. We were gonna hire an engineer and a grant writer, but we're gonna wait until we put that in our bylaws and, so we can have flexibility in price. We didn't think 25,000 was going to be enough for, an off staff in there. And we were looking at GSI and
Nick Cody
Nick
consultant.
Cody, for the grant writing. And, the city did a presentation, on their water and
City of Board.
city boardman. I thought maybe Aaron would do it, he didn't. I don't know why we didn't do that. And we had a presentation from GSI about connections. And there's a really good steering committee, meeting number 6 that everyone should read. Talked about the focus areas of what they're looking at, where our consortium is only one, that small area. But looks like it's pretty expensive for connection. I don't know, it's gonna be interesting, how that all works out in the wash.
You're talking about connections, not connections that, like water connection at West Line, you mean?
Yeah, they're doing a complete study of the whole of Guana, so they have focus areas that they've sorted out, so Irrigan has one, Umatilla, Promise and Boardman and, or maybe four focus areas, anyway, he has them broke out. I kind of did the math on it, and for Boardman's, it, you know, it's high level engineering right now, I mean, it's 100-mile, you know, look over the top, but it looked like about $129,000 for connection.
To get the infrastructure in the ground and then
Yeah.
actually hook up to it.
Yeah, that was just their preliminary cost estimates. And now they're going to go into the third part, which is, the outliers, you know, maybe drilling deeper wells. We discussed that we can't use the federal funding for those outlier wells, because we can't do it for individuals, it has to be for a group. So we have to kind of split that money and divvy it up appropriately, so we don't spend our discretionary funds on things that we can spend, grants on. So those are some of the discussions. We had 3 citizens show up for our meeting, and they had really good input. It was good to listen to them and their thoughts. There was questions about, you know, if my well's not bad, are they gonna make me connected? And, you know, questions were popping up that maybe we hadn't thought about that they had. We set meetings for the second Tuesday of every month. We don't have to have them every month, but we decided for the first 6 months, we'd have them every month. And then decided we go every other. What else, Lisa?
What was the number 6?
Oh, it's the steering committee. It's a really good report that they wrote. It's from the county money that they did, it's GSI. And you can go on the website and get that at planning or on the steering committee website. Tamara can talk about it, but, it's really informational and, talks about the connections and shows the focus areas.
And Tamara's on the call, but they have 2 rounds of that funding, right?
Yes, I believe so. One of them ends in July of 26. And that's what GSI is doing, and I don't know what it said.
And we will be looking for dollars. I mean, we've got opportunities at the federal level. We obviously have the $2 million outlier at the state right now. We have money that we have paid into DEQ for penalties going to OHA and coming back to Morrow County, so we will try to use those dollars, you know, the best way we can.
The West Line project would cost roughly how much, do you know?
Say that again.
The West Line project would cost
29.
29, I thought.
The whole entire Loop Bama on their 4 areas came to 95 million.
Jacob, if you were to
I have no idea.
$29 million.
It just totally depends on where water gets sourced.
And that was both areas. That was Westland and, no, Westland and, Estegard area. So that would be 2 focus areas, for the 29s.
I know right now they're talking about taking the water pipeline, from the connection on Paul Smith. So it'll hook up properties like yours, Joe.
Okay.
So we got 100 properties in that, connection, which at one point we estimated the pipeline going from the city out to a point that was going to be $1 million, so.
It definitely seems high.
This was.
That's what I want I wanna make
So
sure.
this
everyone
is for
knows.
241 connections.
Which has got the two neighborhoods, but I can't imagine, well, I don't know.
That's from the map, the drawings on the map.
I know the West Glen one's about 100 connections.
Yeah, that does seem out,
And then they'll also be looking at, you know, if someone needs a well, deeper, or if they need a whole home system like you purchased. And you purchased it, right?
mine's, I need to see, mine's out.
Okay, yours is whole home, right?
Okay, wow. So great. It's not-
Yeah. Don't wonder how any community got anything done. Yeah, that's just the price, even then.
Yeah, I have deep sympathy for the communities trying to put in new water systems. Wow.
Well, the city of Boardman did a presentation to talk about the quality of their water, because they're, over the course of the last 10 or 15 years, there was a few high reports, of water, but it appears that it's at the end of, the Driftwood RV Park where the water wasn't leaked yet. To bring that back in, so. They went through that report month by month. We're happy to share that with you.
So they've rectified that problem.
They're pretty much below 5. I don't know why it would be hovering at 4 or 5. Yeah. That's a question we ought to ask somebody, but that's about where it's at. But they're bringing on their 3rd collector well as well. And I think the other question that you might want to be aware of is Matt's researching whether, once there is a pipeline to the home, if they have to hook up or not hook up, and if they don't hook up, will the government continue to pay for bottled water delivery to those homes?
Gotcha. Whether they have to hook up or not hook up, that should be straightforward. Okay? That would be a.
Well, if they don't have the money to pay the bill, then they're not gonna have no water.
Yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of other areas, I think that. Or whatever the title on. Well, yeah, there's that.
Or what if your well is good
Yeah.
and the pipeline goes past you? That's what the one lady from American said.
Yeah.
Right.
Why those conversations need to be had.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we were, Matt thought that was an issue, and I said, well, DHS supplies it for health reasons, not, and it shouldn't be dependent on income or economics, whether you can hook up or not. So, I don't know, lots of questions.
Right, right. I talked to someone from that neighborhood, and I've told the story a couple times now, but he didn't want to come to public meetings. He was too old for that. He said that he's just gonna continue to buy water, and he said, okay, if we are running a freshwater pipeline down your street or in front of your house, what do you want us to do? And he said, well, I would want you to put a T in so that the person that owns that home in the future would be able to hook up to water if they want to, but he's perfectly content the way he is. Some people might want, like Isabel's on the call, they have a clean well now, at her mom's house, and they still want to hook up to city water as well.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of different.
And then there's people that have
opinions.
animals, and do they feed their animals with their irrigation well, and do they use city water for that? So lots of scenarios to discuss.
Was like progress then?
Yeah. Moving forward, great. Okay, next is other, was there any? I haven't looked at that. Is Greg number on yet? I didn't see.
I have a couple of questions. In our minutes from last month, it said we were gonna revisit the public records request for rates. Don't know if that's something we did.
No, we're still talking about them,
Okay, so
so that's why it's on there. I do have it on this slide.
okay,
We talked to Sam a little bit, but
we didn't get anything finalized, so.
Okay. Has anyone heard, because I just heard today that it's considered final, the school bond vote passed by
Yep.
6 votes. So, have we heard, so maybe a little early, maybe a AWS conversation about bonding on whichever one it was? Got the number, I'm sorry.
Hillary's coming back out here in July. I believe.
They seem.
I'm not positive on that. The last conversation I had with Kelly a couple days
I
ago.
don't know that it's our, responsibility to look into this, but I'm just saying that they seemed interested in having this conversation about bonding and making it retroactive, so I just want to keep that out there as something that we can bring up, maybe if it's our place to do it, I'm not sure, but. And then lastly, Kinzu water issues, I know Mark's not here and he's been dealing with it, also the bid process for the, if somebody knows about that, too.
Jeff knows,
Jess in the middle of
and the bid's open tomorrow, is all I
Oh,
know.
they do, okay,
Yes.
that's good, that's what I want, that's good.
Okay,
Thank you.
jumping on it, that was on this sheet or somewhere. Where did I see it? Well, oh, Willow Creek pipeline, there's nothing on it.
Yes,
That's all.
I did have one question on the sheet, though, Terminal 1 Virgin, yeah, all bids were rejected. I assume for the height of bid or the amount of the bid or
timing and permitting.
timing and billing.
Do we have, we're shooting for this coming, we're ready. So the timeline is too long. The successful bidder didn't want to hold their price themselves for next winter. We're gonna have to go to that, so we did.
Okay, so they wanted to do it sooner than. Is that what you're saying?
We're up.
Yeah, they wanted to do it last winter,
Oh, I see.
and they worked for me, therefore.
Yeah, we had some holdups.
Gotcha. Okay, we have a deadline, is it next year? Do I remember that somehow it's coming to a close, that grant?
This work window.
Needs to
We're
get
doing
done.
construction in this work window.
Okay. Okay, thank you, that's all.
Okay. Don't see him up there, so we'll move on to new business. Here we will collect the comments and close the budget hearing. Is there any comments on our budget hearing? Anybody online? Okay, there's no hands up there, right? Right, okay, and nobody here in the room? Okay.
Do we need to close the budget hearing before a resolution, or is it the time for the resolution?
You close the hearing before the resolution.
So, yeah, we need to close it. Maybe motion to close it.
I'll make a motion to close the budget hearing.
I'll second it.
Motion. John has moved and Joel second to close our budget hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimous.
And I would, make a motion to approve resolution 2025-06, a resolution adopting the budget for.
Okay, it's actually 3 resolutions.
So,
Adopting the budget, setting the tax rate, and what's the third thing?
appropriations transfer.
No, that's a different resolution. He's talking about 2506, which is about appropriate and stuff.
Resolution adopting
Yes,
the budget.
you're right, adopt, appropriate, and establish the rate.
Okay, so that's the one resolution that needs to be done, and I'll restate it. And then the second one is resolution 2025-07, is that right?
No,
No, that's.
no, that's all 202506.
Okay, so I will restate that motion, please.
Okay,
I'd like to motion to approve resolution 2025-06, title being resolution adopting the budget and resolutions imposing and categorizing the tax
And appropriating the budget.
and appropriate the budget.
We'll have a different description next year. Okay.
It needs to be spelled out. Sorry.
I'll second that.
okay, all right, John has moved and Kelly has seconded. Any other discussion on that resolution? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Unanimous. Okay, so that leaves resolution 2025-04.
Okay, so when you appropriate the budget, you appropriate it on a function level. We also report it on how we used to do it, for services, material services, debt service, capital outlay. That's not our legal responsibility, but we need some allocation changes in that category. So that's why there's a sentence that you've not seen before on the budget appropriation change. It says, while none of these affect the legal appropriation level by segment, the following adjustments will be made for internal accounting purposes. So we're asking for an adjustment within discharge water of 11.5 million coming out of capital outlay, 4 million going into materials and services, and 7.5 million going into debt service. So when we did the financing last fall and we decided to capitalize the interest, we actually financed. So when you approve that budget, or when you approve that bond levy, you in essence approve the change to the budget. I just want this all in one place, so it's just 2 sheets of paper to give the auditors and not, a bunch of stuff. So the 7.5 million last year, when we were talking about, when we thought we were gonna have Lithia earlier, I had estimated a lower interest amount rather than getting all the money up front and having interest on the full amount. So I'm asking you to move 7.5 million there. Technically on the financial statements, it will be included in our capital assets. But we always budget based on, like personal services, we capitalize the labor and it goes to that. That's why there's always differences between budgetary basis and financial statement basis. So it's a similar type of thing. Okay, the 4 million is all money that you've heard about over and over again. One is the fact that we had to buy additional insurance. And the other is the fact that our legal costs are higher than we anticipated. And our testing and permit costs are higher than anticipated. And we're discussing what we're gonna call this, the farming,
Or crop share, farm expense.
yes, the farm
Crop
costs.
income,
Pardon?
be a crop income you're talking about?
Or is it-
No, it's not income here, it's expense for this year.
Okay, crop expenses, okay.
Right. Okay, so the fact that we got more money than we budgeted, we don't have to do anything about that, and we did get that lease revenue, which is what paid for these extra items.
That's where the money is coming in from.
Right,
Okay.
right, but we spent it on sharing in, because sharing in the crop, the nitrogen, what's the words there, nitrogen disposal costs? Utilization costs, I don't know.
So you're talking about the value of the crops being less than a normal crop would be, and we are making up. the difference.
Right,
That's
right,
money
the
that you're
price
thinking about.
price
Okay,
from selling the crops that we had to grow, to use use the nitrogen
right,
was not as high as anticipated.
okay,
And we had to reimburse the farmer for that, for those costs.
okay.
So is that last year, or is that coming this year?
No,
Yeah,
that is
so we
for
don't know.
this year because they did the new farm agreement on Farm 4 in February.
Okay.
And so that's what so it's a combination of those 4 items. They all relate to our wastewater system. Okay, then the other, movement of 150,000 in the state center from contingency to materials and services. You know, there was just a lot of supplies that we didn't take into account to get the convention center going. We didn't budget properly for those amounts. So we're asking for you to approve these appropriation changes.
That's correct.
And that's resolution 2025-04, right?
Correct.
Oh,
What title would you like on that?
I'm sorry, what?
What title would you like, sir? Just remember that.
Transfer of budget appropriations.
Okay.
I would move approval of resolution 2025-04 as. What did you say?
Transfer of budget.
Transfer of budget appropriation.
I'll second.
Okay. We'll move to John seconded. Any other discussion on that, please? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. You?
Yeah.
Okay. So then there's 2025-05, facility.
Okay, these are incorporating the 15% rate increase in both freshwater and discharge as previously, not only previously proposed, but previously authorized, because you had to do that 2-year resolution for the bondholders. But we set our rates every year at this time of the year, so that's why we're doing this resolution now. It brings our freshwater rate to $1.13 and our discharge rate to $4.39 per 1,000 gallons.
So this fits with our earlier resolution, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
This fits with our earlier resolution.
It
It's
does.
the same dollar amount.
It matches with that.
Okay, thank you.
And these are the amounts that industry is expecting to see.
Is there a motion for that?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-05.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, Rick was moved and John second. Any other question, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Yes, okay. Okay, so then where are we at? The word, letter E, which is 2025-07.
So we have Greg on the phone now, if you wanna go back.
Okay. Let's do that if we're okay, everybody else okay? Let's go back and we'll talk to Rick Smith about CDA update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So for the record, I'm Greg Smith, Director of the Columbia Development Authority. I have about 6-7 items I want to share with folks. First of all is provide a budget update. The Columbia Development Authority Budget Committee has approved a draft budget during our last board meeting. The budget well, let me read this. The budget was then presented to the CDA board for review. The CDA board agreed to present the budgets to their respective boards and bring back any suggested changes to this next meeting. Budget adoption will be listed as an action item on our next meeting agenda. Want to give a heads up that we are finalizing the agreements on an RFP for road construction. We anticipate that in very short order, you're going to start seeing dozers and backhoes out there for the construction of an approximately $12 million road. I have directed IRZ and Anderson Perry to hold back 30% funding. I want to ensure that this project does not go over budget. And as a result of that, as we get closer to needing that 30%, we'll make a decision on how best to proceed. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have a few dollars left over than be trying to figure out how to find additional dollars. I want to let you know that this property line adjustment on the Umatilla County side of the line just seems to have more and more questions being asked by Umatilla County. They have now requested additional monuments to be placed out on property by our surveyor. Our surveyor's in the process of completing this work. And then barring any additional requirements from Umatilla County, this should be our last step in the application process. I'll remind you, this property line adjustment is significant. It's a requirement we have with the base realignment and closure team. And this is the adjustment that will turn over 4,019 acres to the Confederated Tribes of Umatilla. There continues to be an ongoing legal question between Irrigan and Boardman Fire. As of today, there has not been resolution on this issue. For those who are unaware with what the issue is, the question is who is going to be the primary service provider on the Morrow County side of the line for emergency services, including fire protection. Both Boardman Fire and Irrigan Fire have expressed that desire to be the primary emergency service provider. As it stands right now, the legal counsel for both Irrigan and Boardman have requested that we allow things to go through legal counsel. And so as director of the CDA, I'm stepping back and seeing if those two parties can reach resolution. In the meantime, my understanding is Morrow County has also taken a step back as we try to determine what the legal next steps are going to be and to see if any form of agreement can be reached between the two parties. Want to let you folks know during the last year, the CDA spent just over, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but just over $94,000 in complying with public record requests. And this came as a policy from the board that they wanted public records provided free of charge. So now we're working with our legal counsel to see if there's a better way to do this to save those type of resources. And as such, they've directed me to put together a new public records policy, of which I've been doing. I want to thank the folks at the East Oregonian and KOHU for their participation in a small little subgroup, along with the Oregon's Public Records Advocate in putting this together. Last thing I'd share with you is Umatilla County's litigation against the Columbia Development Authority. Port of Morrow, Port of Umatilla, and Morrow County is still ongoing. My understanding is an agreement between Umatilla County and the Port of Umatilla is close. One of the outstanding issues, at least from the CDA perspective, is who is going to be responsible for the legal costs that have been incurred over this action. As it stands right now, I've directed our legal counsel to take the position that Umatilla County needs to reimburse the CDA. I do not speak for the other parties, but I have heard that the Port of Umatilla has taken a similar position. Our next board meeting will be June 24th at 1 p.m. At that time, we'll go through many of the items we just discussed. In addition, I just want to give folks a heads up that Emily is expecting a little one right around that time or soon thereafter. And then in addition to that, our primary legal counsel will be taking a sabbatical for 3 months. And so we are going to be on definitely a skeleton crew. We will do our very best to assist. And I think the very last thing I'd leave with is the Columbia Development Authority has been receiving interesting requests for information from those in the film and video industry. We've now had several in the last 2 months. As a matter of fact, I believe tomorrow I'll be meeting with a firm that is interested in leasing out several igloos for filming. And in the future, I can keep you informed on how that goes. So, Mr. Chair, that would be the update I have to provide for you today.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Greg?
We will have further discussions in executive session.
Yeah. I've got a copy of the budget. I didn't send it out, but didn't know how to send it out. Didn't find a copy of it.
The draft budget,
Draft budget.
I think, isn't it online? I think it's on the
I-
website.
I'm not too sure. But,
Or Mr.
It seemed
Budget
like it was
posted.
in the packet.
okay.
It seems like it was in the packet, wasn't
Not our package.
it? No,
Not our text today.
no,
Not our packet,
I meant just
packet.
It was, yes, and it is.
Yeah, that was right,
It was just a little bit of change there, so. But we should be able to go.
We can send it to you. We'll send you a link.
Okay.
You didn't have any issues with it, so it's all right.
No. Okay. Yeah, so we will have some discussion in the executive session on the issue. For that, all right.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, thank you, Greg. I think that covered everything that we had going right this second.
Perfect, Mr. Chair, and I do want to let the commission know how much I've appreciated your service with the CDA. You have been just a tremendous calming force during a little bit of stormy waters, and so thank you. And I would just share with the public, with the commission, with staff, should you have any questions, should you have any inquiries, if there's anything you would just like to have clarity on, please do not hesitate to just call me directly. I'm more than willing to come and sit down with anyone. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Greg.
Bye,
Good
gang.
work. Okay, all right, where were we at? Rail tariff. 25-07 rail tariff resolution.
Okay, we're requesting an increase in our rail tariff from $30 per move to $33 per move.
Yes, I make a motion to approve, resolution 2025-07 rail tariff increase. Okay. All right, we'll talk about that. Okay. Ready to move, John, second to approve resolution 2025-07. Any other discussion, questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, onboarding videos and scheduled photos. Let's.
So, go ahead.
Okay, so I think a few of you are aware at a time we had you on our portal that we use for all of our employees, and then we took you off because it was confusing for employees. So we have an online portal that we use for all of our employees. It's how we do onboarding, it's how we hire, it's how we send out communications, and it's easier to talk to all entities. So what we've done is, Eric and I kind of talked about, I wanted to add an onboarding video. That kind of what I was realizing is, because we're spread out so much that some of our people don't know that, hey, there's a maintenance shop, or hey, or they don't know that have commissioners, or, so I kind of wanted to, I just don't think that a lot of them understand all of that. And some of them are born and raised here, and that's the first question I asked her in an interview is, tell me what you know about Morrow. And they don't know anything. So, we worked on those, Erica did them for us, I just gave her ideas of what I wanted. So she created a series of videos that would go to our new employees, so it's actually on our site for all of our employees to look at. But this is the story of Morrow. This is Bamboo HR. This is what we use to talk. So please make sure that you're checking your sites. There's a safety. The only one that we have not finished is what I wanted to bring up was this is our org, this is commissioners, and then I wanted to have pictures and names, so that if they saw you, they would know who you are. Then the next is, you know, Lisa, and this is, she's our boss, and then this is how it goes down, so. Number one, to make it easier, we'd like to schedule a time to take all of the pictures, we're gonna order a shirt so that Danny matches. But we'll wanna retake all of the pictures, and hopefully just Eric will set up the background, take all of the pictures. So that we can get this video and get it done, and I thought if we could do it all at one time, that'd be much easier than trying to catch everybody. And then if we have time, we can show you what it looks like, that's totally up to you.
I think we'd like to show you what, Erica put together.
Okay. Go ahead and do that now. So do we wanna look at calendar to schedule, do we wanna do that at the next meeting, what are you guys thinking?
Next
You can
meeting?
set up the background, so it can just be a still picture, and then like I said, it would have your name underneath it. I really wanna get that done, like I said, I think a lot of them don't know, I want them to be able to, if they recognize you, see who you are.
Erica, do you have a timeline you're shooting for, or?
I think as soon as possible is what we're going to get it done for within, we have to wait for the shirt maker.
Yeah, we'll order a shirt for Danny, so that we have that. So that's correct.
Is before our next commission meeting, taking pictures?
If possible, that would be great.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that day before our meeting, would that work, or is that too long?
Yeah,
Yeah, cause our barbecue's after.
yeah, we could do that.
So
So it's our family barbecue here, so plan to spend the day.
So how do you think, go ahead, that? Well, if the meeting starts at 1:30, how long do you think it would take to get through?
Some of us aren't very photogenic.
I was gonna say, we could plan on meeting like.
What kind of shirt should we wear?
That was the problem, she was like, do you know how hard it's gonna be to get everybody to agree to it, and I'm like, no, we're just scheduling it, we're doing it. So what if we had you guys here like at 1, and then we'll schedule the management to before that?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Like, right, so 1 o'clock would give you time, give you enough time to take the 5 and 5. 12:45?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause I'm also trying to set this up at the same time.
Okay, and then we'll figure out the rest of us to go for that.
Cause these will also be used to update the photos on the wall and then also the commission exhibit at the same center, so. Multi-purpose photos.
I wanted Joe to take his picture with him, I guess I can now.
We were gonna take it down today, but we thought it'd be rude.
I was gonna say, nobody did my wrong, because I'm not here to break the camera.
Well, what was that?
12:45. And we'll get new shorts ordered for everybody.
Wear shorts.
Yeah. Actually, it's barbecue hour shorts, and it does get hot sometimes, so we have family barbecue for all of our employees and their families. It's actually really fun, so that's gonna be a long day for you, gang. It's 4 to 7.
Fun day.
It's a very fun day. It's great to see all of the employees and their families.
There is an age limit on the bouncy house.
Yes. So we have shaved ice. We have shaved ice and good food. But the commissioners do have to, we put you to work, all, especially in the house.
Welcome already.
Yeah, right. Do you have a good guess?
Morrow, there's Sam.
Introduction to the Port of Morrow. Welcome to the Port of Morrow. We're glad to have you as part of our team. As an employee, you play a crucial role in helping to drive the regional, state, national, and world economies by maximizing local industrial development and supporting community partners to enhance the quality of life in Morrow County. We have developed a series of short videos for the purpose of introducing you to the port, our history, structure, employee benefits, and key safety points. In this first video, we will highlight our history, governance structure, and departments. The Port of Morrow was founded in 1959 with a $500 loan from the Morrow County Commission, with the goal of helping local farmers send their products to a broader market. Since its humble birth, the port has grown into the second largest port in Oregon, behind the Port of Portland. Today, products created here at the Port of Morrow are shipped worldwide to over 90 countries. The Port of Morrow is governed by a 5-member commission who are elected by registered port district voters. The administration office oversees the day-to-day operations under the guidance of the executive director, chief operations officer, and chief financial officer. Department directors oversee the daily tasks of individual teams. The main departments are administration, engineering, maintenance, warehousing, workforce development, the Sage Center and Event Center, Marker 40 Golf Club, and accounting. Located at the Riverfront Center, the administrative offices are responsible for managing the port's daily business operations, including accounts payable, human resources, payroll, leases, and billing, to ensure smooth and efficient port functions. The engineering department plans and designs diverse building and infrastructure projects within port properties, including roads, rail lines and spurs, water and wastewater systems, bridges, buildings, and structures. The maintenance department plays a critical role in the construction and daily maintenance of structures, equipment, and infrastructure throughout all port industrial parks. The port's warehousing department contracts with industry partners to provide storage for frozen, refrigerated, and dry commodities. Products are received and shipped by truck and rail. Workforce training coordinates education and learning opportunities with our industry partners to support a growing workforce, connects high school and college students with employers for internship opportunities, and hosts a summer manufacturing camp for middle school students each summer. The Sage Center is a unique museum developed by the Port of Morrow and gives visitors a hands-on opportunity to learn about the businesses, industries, and technology within our county and region. Located in the Sage Center, the AWS Think Big space offers local students the chance to think big using science, technology, engineering, art, and math to solve problems using creativity and imagination. The Sage Event Center opened in 2025 and provides 15,000 square feet of state-of-the-art venue space to support regional education and industry partners with continuing education, workforce initiatives, cultural events, and youth programs. Marker 40 Golf Club was purchased in 2020 for the purpose of enhancing the regional quality of life by preserving a popular recreational opportunity within Boardman.
You want to see them all, or just? You just want to know the categories of the next ones, do you want to watch them?
I just need to categorize that.
Yeah, just category.
Okay.
So the next one talks about, this portal, Bamboo HR, just kind of tells you this, it just goes through, this is where you would go to find your saved documents, like your handbook is on there, if you want to refer back to it. So it just kind of shows you how that works and just says, you know, pay attention to it, this is how we talk. 3 is talks about our benefits, talks about our insurance, goes through all of that in our, you know, our package as far as our benefits, which we're quite proud of. And then safety is, just a brief overview of all of this. You know, we require you to wear PPE, that you have to follow all safety guidelines. And then the last one talks about the technology. If you have the phone or and we have an in-house IT, so you would reach out to helpdesk@portmorrow.com if you have an issue, so that you can get directly to that. And then, like I said, the last one would be, this is your team and the structure.
And if anyone's interested in seeing all of those, I can send you a link to YouTube to watch those. It's only accessible locally, right? So, yeah, or if you're.
And it's not that, the video isn't that jerky, it's just the internet and through Zoom and.
Yeah, I'd be interested in the links, please. And I assume some of these are required for employment, like safety and stuff, like how do they document that they've seen them, or?
So these ones are just purely informational.
Oh.
Absolutely every new employee has personalized safety training for their job. So each Marty Marty does it for all of departments, and the warehouse has their own, Bob Barker does theirs, so they have personalized safety training for whatever job they're hired for.
So these are just informational, they're not.
These are just information.
Required watching.
Right.
Good way to get the message across nowadays, though.
Well, and like I said, there was a couple of points behind it, you know, knowing that we have all the different entities, like I said, just knowing when I asked that question. What do you know about Port Morrow? And they just don't even know, or, you know, they knew about the Sage Center, but didn't have any idea. I remember visiting it like in the 3rd grade, but they didn't know that we owned it or what it was actually designed for, so hopefully to get them a little bit more educated about who they work for.
So are those, like, the one about the Port of Morrow in general, well, one with this Washington departments, is that available to Morrow County citizens?
I mean, we literally just put it up, it wasn't our intention, but, I mean,
We could,
I'm not
Yeah.
sure why we couldn't.
we could stick it on Facebook.
yeah, well, I mean, the intention was purely just to educate them, but, I mean, yeah, we could do whatever we want with it. We literally just got it up and running on Monday, so,
Yeah, Rick commented on the last meeting, and
yes,
it's like a good way to get that word out there.
yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so 12:45, we'll make sure we have shirts for you. If any of you need different sizes than what we did last time, let us know.
Not yet, nope.
And it's for those should all.
I was called that at our lunch,
Yeah.
you know?
Right?
I said I ate all of the tacos, you guys can just go home, and they're like, yeah, we can tell. So then I went and got a cupcake, and sat right in front of it.
All right, any other new business? Okay, we'll go on to staff reports, project updates. And that's you, Jacob?
Yeah. All right, so kicking off I guess the most active, so farm three and farm four, the big project. Massive work on farm three is complete, the liner system is 75% installed. Electrical crews are on site installing power control conduits. Pump bar system is finished. Fabrication of 2 cylinders are on. Deliver first or second week of July. Project is on schedule for testing and turnover by late July. But we cannot test it until our pipeline is installed mid-August to get the pipe through a crop that's in the field. Down 4. They're really taken off, mass earth work is underway, the embankment. Internal drain system, blanket drain is complete, and embankment construction is in progress. Embankment construction is scheduled to be complete in late August. Liner crews and electric crews will be mobilized in July. Testing and turnover scheduled to occur in October. Regards to Swanson Road project, I think I mentioned last week is all but done. We're finishing the punch list items for the utilities in the road system. The airport, the Silver Creek contracting will basically demobilize the potable water lines at 99% complete. We're bringing it back next week to help commission the pipelines. We've got to flush it, pressure test it, and they'll be here on site in case there's a leak or something they need to replace. Any material. The tank is also about 99% complete. The tank manufacturer has to come back on site next week, finalize one roof panel, and they'll be here for coordination of the tank. Our electrical teams, as part of the distribution station, spun up our well out there. I think it's spun for the first time this morning. We've got power to the station now as of yesterday, and we've got 3 out of the 4 booster pumps in that station ready to receive water and bring our system up to their pressure. So next week and probably the week after, we'll go through a bunch of testing and chlorinating, and with the schedule to be delivering water by July 1st. So there's a little bit of structural piece of the building and the distribution station that are left to go, but all in the next few weeks will be complete.
Is the well that was drilled there being used or not?
So it's gonna be used, basically, we're gonna utilize it for the next 2 years while the surface water treatment plant is under construction. It'll provide the needed water for the next 2 years. And then after 2 years from now, the surface water treatment will come online and the well will be there and it will be functional, but it'll be our secondary source. So it'll be a redundancy and hopefully that's just, so wells, I think it's rated to pump about 700 gallons per minute. So surface water treatment plants, MCO has mobilized, they broke ground this week at the East Beach site. They mobilized construction trailers and equipment to the airport site. So they're well underway. We've got a weekly construction meeting and everything's progressing as anticipated. One wrinkle we've been working on recently is we might be impacted due to some tariffs. So we've ordered a lot of material, long procurement items, came out of Japan, China, Korea. We procured that last year, but the membranes come from a manufacturer in Japan. They don't ship until later in the project. So they get put in a ship container in Shanghai with insulators. So we're going to get, they're proposing a Japanese and a China tariff that ends up being like 17% of the membranes, north of $200,000. So we're actively working on that.
Think it will delay their shipment then, or
What's that?
will it delay their shipment? Or?
No, it won't delay the schedule. It's just a money impact. We're out to bid on one of the feed lines that goes to the surface water treatment plant at the airport. So we opened bids on June 26th. So hopefully get a low contractor for that installation. It's a fairly big project, 35,000 feet of pipeline to get out there. Other than that, there's a bunch of little stuff going on.
Can't think of anything else? I'm not.
How's it going with the blowing dust?
Blowing dust is a issue.
Still an issue.
Yeah,
They touched on that, or?
So long term, one of our big items was the pond embankments out of Farm 3. The stabilization was not effective. It got seeded too late, and so we're doing kind of a short term and long term solution. Our short term is going to be blowing corn stalks on the slope, walking in with dozers and grass on the dozers. And then this fall, we're going to try to seed the embankments this fall with a helicopter, with those corn stalks being in place. So we're hopeful that that'll be the long term solution. But yeah, all the projects, there's a dust issue. We continually coordinate with contractors to be aware of when storms coming, have people around. It's always seems to be the biggest issue when there's holiday weekends, and contractors don't want to have people on call, and it's just an ongoing effort to keep it focused.
Corn stalks going in fairly soon then.
Yes, yeah, so we did a test run of, I think we did about 250 foot of the embankment 3 weeks ago. And went well, so gearing up to procure the stalks themselves, a bigger piece of equipment to distribute it on the slope, and the contractor had it.
Today's a good day to test it.
Well,
Okay. Was there something else, Lisa?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I just needed time.
That included any maintenance. Report to you, not adjust.
yeah, I don't have a lot of other big projects, but like I said, there's a lot of cleanup activities going on all over the place. We can go.
Okay. We'll move on to financial updates.
Okay, there are no surprises. We have slipped some in our unrestricted cash. We've paid our, hopefully, I'm afraid to say this, final penalty. We have paid our farm crop sharing costs. And we made all of our June first bond payments. But we're still substantially higher than the required level of 2 months worth of operating, so. And this budget versus actual was prepared prior to the budget appropriation adjustments that we just approved. So the fact that we're currently at 102% under materials and services, hopefully we'll be under 100% by the end of next month. It's the plan. And as always, if you have any issues or questions, just holler whenever.
Thank you, Eileen. Okay, usage reports, those were in. Patrick?
Okay, so the usage reports, are slightly different than the ones you got last Friday. We knew we had a question about PTE's gallons, but we didn't get a response from them until Monday, so the usage is a little bit higher than previously reported.
Does it look really low? Fresh, you're talking about fresh water?
Yes,
It's
Yes.
impressively low. I guess that's, sure that's good, but.
oh, we need to think about what direction pages go in the book.
The new ones these doing are different than the other ones too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, any other questions for the staff on usage reports? No. Okay. Yes, John has some vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can take just a moment to bring attention to someone that served the Port Commission for a very long time. Joe is retiring this year, this week, this month, it's done at the end of this month. I've come to appreciate in Morrow County what I call country gentlemen, and I mean and country gentlewomen too. And what I mean by that is people that are generally soft-spoken, kind, and generous, thoughtful, and they speak after they think. And I've really appreciated that about Joe, and I consider him to be a country gentleman too. And his service here for 20 years to bring the port into the modern age and to bring it to the business that it is today, the second largest port in the state, is tremendous. Yes, there's been bumps along the way. There always will be in businesses and things, but we're working through it. And so, Joe, I just would like to say thank you for your years of service, and I would welcome anyone else to say things too, please. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and I've learned from you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
His plaque says, Joe Taylor, thank you for 20 years of dedicated service to Morrow County citizens. We wish you well on your next chapter, 2005 to 2025. And we wish you all the best, Joe. Thank you.
Okay. That's nice, very, thank you very much, everybody.
John, do you guys want to stand with the Latin or get a good picture of you family? Sorry. And she got a little bit, but. Can you move the water bottles? Can you move the drinks out of the way? We're getting a little together here, right?
That's good. We need those funds. Thank you.
So 3, 2, and 1.
All right. I'm here with the shirt. Sorry.
Yeah. You'll be fun one of the two. That's good.
I don't know about anyone else, but I reiterate what, John said. Joe, I couldn't believe it when you told me it's been 20 years. We had to look it up to.
Yeah.
We didn't believe you were. You were right, but that is because you have led by example and you are quiet and you are thoughtful and you want to make the right decision, and I think we have all appreciated being able to work with you.
Thank you very much. It's been a thankless job, but, yeah. Got a few things here today, so that's, yeah, it's been, quite the honor to, work with you and I've had the luxury of, and coming up with you, with your help and guidance and you've been one of those that, only that listening to my offer advice when it's necessary. So thank you for your service. Thank you for the service to Morrow County and the region. It's been huge. Again, I don't think people understand the commitment it takes to be a port commissioner and everything you put up with, good and bad. So thank you for all of it. Thank you, Reverend Kevin. And thanks again, everybody. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to serve Morrow County and everybody for it. I've enjoyed it all. Had some real opportunities. So I just say it's been great. Everybody treated you so well. Okay. Sure, we got squeeze in a couple more meetings. I see some. Okay, thank you. So now we're on to other reports. Willow Creek Valley.
See anybody?
See anybody there? BCDA.
I have a very detailed report that's in your packet. I'll just kind of go high level on that. You can see the details of it, but we are kind of kicking off a lot of our projects that will continue the housing incentive program. We're getting ready to start diving into our small business development of the Board of Business Opportunity Incubator project. That is going to be a big lift and we're going to start that soon. We're also going to be looking into expanding retail and office space right next door to that to facilitate some recent requests from partners in the community. And then we are going to be doing some improvements and some beautification in town. You'll be seeing the new mural is going to be started painting here in probably, oh, she was going to paint and heat it. And so then she's going to wait because morning sun cooks the concrete and then it takes it a while for it to cool before she gets paint on it. And so it's gonna be kind of an afternoon project for her once she gets the shade on it. And then we are going to start looking into replacing the turf, the lighting and extending the wood paneling into the field house to protect the insulation. The insulation is getting kind of destroyed through the walls because the walls don't go all the way to the ceiling. There's one section up there, so we're gonna be looking at that. And then working with UEC on improving the lighting in there through the energy efficiency program on that. And then we are supporting a fishing tournament that's coming in. It had a huge economic impact last year to our community. It's bringing in about 60 fishers through 2 different weekends. The second weekend happened to fall on the end of summer celebration, so we will have a fishing tournament, a pro fishing tournament at the same time as we have the end of summer celebration. So it's gonna be quite the packed weekend down there in the marina. And then we did our annual contributions to our Orman Park and Rec for 90,000 to continue the youth programs and their instructors at the rec center. And then we also did Families First Child Care Center of 30,000 to offset the cost of child care at the facility. So, and then just continue to try to make Orman better. Appreciate the support and this group does a lot of impactful work in our community, and I'm just gonna say thanks to you guys. Continue to have conversations when you're negotiating enterprise zone agreements and how that has impacted our community. And I hopefully, I'm doing my pitch right now, but hopefully continue that thought on when you're going into CREST 3 on those economic developments across the county. We are doing a lot of good work across the county. Each community pretty much has an economic development association now in their communities, and each one's doing a lot of work that's impactful to their local community and it's locally controllable, so it's going back into where it needs to go. So that's just my pitch on that. So thank you for everything you do.
Thanks, Trey.
Tori, when do you have your meetings?
We have meetings the second Thursday of each month.
Day after report meeting.
Yep. Tomorrow morning at 7:30. There we go. Yes, tomorrow morning.
Ted, Story? How about Idaho? Anything for Bill?
We had the last meeting for the summer, and the good news that they stopped working on the septic system program for a while, and now they're back at it. So it takes a while to drive through town, but they're making headway again on that, so.
Yes,
Can I just add, we finally have the signed contract for the funds for the $1 million for IO.
Okay,
And $1.5 million for governor.
Right.
but, thank you. So what,
I said I need approved invoices and then I'll submit the request.
oh, okay. And you said that to who? You.
It was
Well, I'll
someone
pass it
from
on.
Anderson Perry who was inquiring.
Was inquiring, and he needs something from the city, Micabo, or what do you?
No, I'm,
Needs money.
I'll talk to Mark when he gets back.
Okay.
Yeah, city,
This,
city
yeah,
hall.
I would think it'd be the city, okay,
Liz Peterson.
right, okay, well, we could talk to Mark, he's on the council, so.
Yeah. But it's good news because it's
Oh.
been a long time getting here.
Yeah, again, thanks for that, yeah, doing that work, yes. So, Summit Island didn't even know what it, were wondering what that was when I mentioned it, so. We do need this,
No, your other funding sources has been waiting.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, well, thank you.
Okay, any other reports we need? Okay. Okay, moving on here, we're up to upcoming events, we got a family barbecue on July 9th. Regular commission meeting. Photos of 12:45, right? Good.
You can still come to the barbecue, Joe.
But you're the dunk tank.
Okay, so we're ready for executive session? You think?
Yes.
Anything else? Okay, so give me a minute here to read this. Or we'll hold an executive session meeting for the permissible reasons below under ORS 192.6602. Representatives of the news media and designated staff and other persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience will be asked to leave the room. The public virtual meeting Zoom meeting link will be closed during the executive session as permissible executive session meetings are not subject to HB 2560. Representatives of news media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session is previously announced. No decision will be made in this executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room in person and open the public virtual Zoom meeting link. A, for the purpose of consideration of deliberations with the port's executive director and other staff members that have been designated by the port to negotiate real property transactions. ORS 192.6602E. B, for the purpose of consultation with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed, ORS 192.6602H. And C, for the purpose of review of the employment related performance of the CEO, ORS 192.6602I. And with that, we'll take a 5-minute recess and we will reconvene in the executive session. Okay, is there anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
Okay. So it is 6 o'clock, we'll reconvene our regular session here on June 11th. We came out of executive session. We do need to appoint a couple of people to negotiate employment contract with. That'd be a motion. It would, yeah.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that, Commissioner appoint Joe and Rick to negotiate with CEO for salary. Yeah.
Or a compensation package.
For compensation package.
And
And it's,
And that's good.
yeah, that's a harsh word.
Second,
Okay. Joel was good, Kelly second to, point Rick and I to the compensation. Maybe I guess still, and negotiate with please, Lisa, our CEO, in discussion
And execute.
and execute, yes. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so that means there's nothing else on our agenda, nothing we have to go back to. There's nothing in the executive session we need to take action on. So it is 6:02 and I will adjourn the meeting.